The penthouse in Paris was a masterpiece of glass and light, a far cry from my drafty kitchen in Queens. I sat on the terrace, watching the sun dip below the horizon, painting the Eiffel Tower in shades of gold. For decades, I had been the woman who calculated the price of every egg and every loaf of bread. Now, I held a black titanium card that represented more wealth than my entire family had seen in 3 generations. It felt heavy, yet strangely hollow. My phone buzzed incessantly on the marble table. Jasper's face kept flashing on the screen, a digital ghost of the son who had deemed me unfit for the vibe just days ago. I didn't answer. I wanted him to feel the weight of the silence I had lived in for years. He wasn't mourning my absence. He was mourning the potential loss of $40 million. I poured myself a glass of vintage Bordeaux and realized that for the first time, I wasn't anyone's servant. In New York, the storm was just beginning. My neighbor, Mrs. Gable, sent me a frantic text saying 2 men in suits were banging on my old apartment door. Jasper had obviously hired private investigators. He was desperate to find his beloved mother now that she was a walking jackpot. I felt a surge of cold satisfaction. He had taught me that I was an embarrassment, a relic of a poor past. Now, that relic was the only thing standing between him and total bankruptcy. I decided to hire Sophie, a young law student I met at a cafe, to be my personal assistant. She was sharp, discreet, and didn't care about my bank balance. Together, we planned my next move. I didn't want to just spend the money. I wanted to build something that would last. We started looking at neglected historical buildings in the Marais district. I wanted to turn one into a sanctuary for retired teachers who had been forgotten by the system, just like I had been. Jasper finally sent an email, his tone shifting from angry to pathetic. "Mom, please, Claudia is leaving me. She says if I don't get the money, our marriage is over." I made a mistake, I know, I was stressed, but we are family. Blood is thicker than water. I laughed at the screen. Blood hadn't been thick enough to get me an invitation to New Year's Eve dinner. Water, it seemed, was exactly what their love was made of. It evaporated as soon as things got hot. I spent my mornings in the Louvre, standing before the winged Victory. I felt like that statue, headless but moving forward, driven by a force I hadn't known I possessed. My stylist, Mark, had replaced my old cardigans with silk blouses and tailored trousers. I looked in the mirrors of the grand boutiques and didn't recognize the regal woman staring back. The poverty hadn't just been in my wallet, it had been in my soul. Now, the soul was finally beginning to breathe. News of the mystery millionaire from Queens reached the international papers. A grainy photo of me entering the Bentley had surfaced. Jasper saw it and lost his mind. He recognized the scarf I was wearing, the one I had bought for his party. He realized I had been standing right there, ready to love them, when they pushed me away. The irony was a bitter pill he had to swallow. He started posting public apologies on Facebook, begging for a chance to explain everything. Claudia, however, was more calculated. She sent me a long, flowery letter claiming she had been the one who wanted me at the party, but Jasper had stopped her. She was already trying to align herself with the money, ready to betray her husband for a piece of the pie. I burned the letter in the fireplace of my suite. There were 2 vultures fighting over a carcass that was very much alive and walking the streets of Paris. I was done being prey for people like them. I took a train to the south of France, to a small village called St. Paul-d'Avence. I stayed in a villa surrounded by lavender fields. The air was sweet and still. I spent my days painting a hobby I had abandoned 40 years ago to work extra shifts at the school. My hands were shaky at first, but the colors were vibrant. I was painting my own life now, and I didn't need anyone's permission to use the bright reds and deep blues. I was finally, truly, an artist of my fate. While I was in the mountains, Sophie called me. "Eleanor, your son is here. In Paris. He's at the St. Regis, demanding to know where you went. He's causing a scene." I took a deep breath. The confrontation was coming. I couldn't run forever. And honestly, I didn't want to. I wanted him to see me. Not the tired mother in the old shoes, but the woman who had conquered the world without him. "Tell him I'll meet him in 3 days at the Café de Flore," I said calmly. The day of the meeting was cold and crisp. I arrived early, sitting at a corner table with a book. I wore a black wool coat and a diamond brooch that had cost more than Jasper's first house. When he walked in, he looked terrible. His suit was wrinkled and his eyes were bloodshot. He looked around the cafe like a trapped animal until his gaze landed on me. He froze. He didn't see the embarrassment. He saw a queen. He sat down, his hands trembling on the table. "Mom!" he choked out, reaching for my hand. I pulled it back slightly, adjusting my gloves. "It's Eleanor, Jasper. Or perhaps the millionaire. Which one are you here to talk to?" He winced at my tone. "I'm so sorry. I was under so much pressure. Claudia, she's so demanding." I stopped him with a raised hand. "Do not blame your wife for your own cowardice. You looked me in the eye and told me I didn't fit the vibe." "Well, Jasper, look at me now. Do I fit your vibe yet?" He started to cry, real tears this time, but I felt nothing but a distant pity. "The bank is foreclosing on the house, Mom. We're gonna lose everything. If you could just give us a small loan? $1 million? It's nothing to you now." I leaned forward, the light catching my jewelry. "It's everything to me, Jasper, because it's my freedom. You want $1 million to save a house built on vanity. I'm using my millions to build homes for people who actually have a soul." I stood up, leaving a €100 note on the table for the coffee. "I won't give you a penny, Jasper, but I will do this. I will pay for your divorce lawyer. Because Claudia is a poison, and you are a fool. If you want to be my son again, you start from the bottom. Find a job, live in a small apartment, and learn what it means to earn a life. Until then, you are just a stranger who used to know me." I walked out of the cafe, the bells on the door ringing behind me. He followed me into the street, shouting, but my security team, two polite but firm men, stepped between us. I didn't look back. I got into the waiting car and told the driver to take me to the airport. I was going back to New York, but not to Queens. I bought a penthouse in Manhattan, overlooking Central Park. I wanted to be right in the middle of the world they thought I wasn't good enough for. I wanted them to see my name on the buildings I was funding. The Eleanor Foundation became a reality within 6 months. We opened 3 housing complexes for retired educators and artists. I spent my afternoons visiting them, hearing their stories, and feeling a sense of belonging I had never known. They didn't care about my money. They cared that I had been one of them. I was no longer an invisible guest in someone else's life. I was the architect of a community. My late husband, Arthur, would have been so proud of me. Jasper eventually did file for divorce. He moved into a tiny studio in Brooklyn and started working as a junior clerk. It was a long fall from his luxury life, but it was the best thing that ever happened to him. He stopped posting fake photos and started sending me handwritten letters. They weren't about money. They were about his memories of the park or a book he'd read. I didn't reply for a year, but I kept every single one of them in a silk-lined box. Claudia tried to sue me for emotional distress, claiming that my lottery win had destroyed her marriage. The papers had a field day with her, calling her the gold digger of Queens. My lawyers made short work of her case, and she ended up with nothing but legal fees she couldn't pay. Last I heard, she was working in a mall, the very place she used to mock. Karma, I realized, was a much better accountant than I had ever been during my years of poverty. On the first anniversary of my win, I hosted a gala for the foundation. I wore a gown of midnight blue silk and a necklace of sapphires. As I looked out at the room full of people I had helped, I realized that the $40 million hadn't changed me. It had simply removed the obstacles that prevented me from being myself. I was still the teacher who loved Milton, the woman who liked her tea with 2 sugars. I was just a version of her that didn't have to hide. I finally met Jasper for dinner at a small diner in Brooklyn, his choice. He looked humble, his hands rough from work, but his eyes were clear. We talked for 3 hours about everything except the money. At the end, he walked me to my car. "I don't want the millions, Mom," he said quietly. "I just want to be the kind of man who deserves to be your son." I hugged him then, feeling the ice around my heart finally melt. He was finally learning the price of being seen. The city lights of New York always seemed different to me now. They didn't look like distant stars I could never reach. They looked like a map of opportunities. I spent my weekends at a small cottage I bought in the Hamptons, a place where the ocean air cleared my head. I started a scholarship for children of single mothers, ensuring that the next generation wouldn't have to struggle the way I did. My wealth had become a tool, a way to reshape the world. I received an award for philanthropy from the mayor of New York. Standing on the stage at City Hall, I thought about the night I sat alone with my half-eaten sandwich. I mentioned it in my speech, telling the audience that the greatest poverty isn't a lack of money, but a lack of empathy. I saw Jasper in the back of the room, clapping with tears in his eyes. He wasn't clapping for the check I had just signed. He was clapping for the mother he had found. I decided to travel again, this time to Japan. I wanted to see the cherry blossoms in Kyoto. I spent weeks walking through the ancient temples, learning about the beauty of impermanence. I realized that the money was just energy, a fleeting gift I had to use wisely. I bought a small temple that was falling into ruin and funded its restoration. It was a way of giving back to a culture that taught me how to find peace in the middle of a chaotic and loud world. When I returned, I found that Jasper had been promoted. He was working hard, rebuilding his life brick by brick. He had met a woman named Maria, a nurse who had no idea about our family's fortune. He wanted me to meet her, not at a fancy party, but at a barbecue in the park. I went wearing a simple sundress and sandals. We ate charred hot dogs and laughed until our sides ached. It was the most expensive meal I had ever had, and it didn't cost a dime. My memoir, The Price of Being Seen, became a bestseller. Women from all over the world wrote to me, sharing their stories of being overlooked by their families. I realized I had accidentally started a movement. We organized invisible women retreats, where mothers could rediscover their own identities away from the demands of their children. I was no longer just Eleanor. I was a symbol of the forgotten who had finally been remembered by the entire world. I am now 65, and my life is a tapestry of vibrant colors. I have homes in 3 countries, but my favorite place is still the reading nook in my Manhattan penthouse. I have a granddaughter now, little Arthurina, named after my husband. She has my eyes and her father's laugh. When I hold her, I promise her that she will always be seen, not for what she has, but for who she is. The cycle of sacrifice and silence has finally been broken for good in us. I visited my old apartment in Queens one last time. It was being rented by a young couple, both teachers. I didn't tell them who I was, I just told them I used to live there. I left a large envelope in their mailbox with enough money to pay their rent for 5 years. As I walked away, I felt a sense of closure. The struggle was a part of me, but it didn't define me anymore. I was a woman of the world, a woman of means, but most importantly, a woman of her word. Jasper and Maria got married in the garden of my Hamptons house. It was a small ceremony, focused on love and new beginnings. There were no important clients, only people who truly cared. I walked Jasper down the aisle, and he whispered, "Thank you for not giving me the million, Mom. You gave me my life instead." I realized then that my beautiful revenge had turned into a beautiful redemption for both of us. We were finally a real, honest family. I spent the winter in a villa in Tuscany, learning how to make olive oil. The slow pace of life suited my soul. I realized that I had spent 60 years running, and now I could finally walk. I sat in the sun, listening to the bees in the lemon trees, and felt a profound sense of gratitude. The Powerball ticket had been the key, but the door I opened led to myself. I was Eleanor, and I was finally, truly, and gloriously at peace with everything in my life. My final project was the construction of the Arthur Memorial Library in the heart of Queens. It was a state-of-the-art facility where anyone could come to learn, dream, and be seen. On the day it opened, I stood in the lobby and watched the children run toward the books. I knew that Roger and Arthur were watching from somewhere, smiling. The story of the invisible teacher had ended, and the legend of the woman who saw everyone had finally and truly begun. The library became the heart of the neighborhood. I spent my Tuesdays there, reading to the children. They called me Miss Eleanor, and to them, I wasn't a millionaire. I was the lady with the best stories. I realized that this was the real vibe I had been looking for all my life. It wasn't in luxury penthouses or first-class lounges. It was in the eyes of a child discovering a new world through a book. I was finally back in my true element as a teacher. Jasper came to the library one day with his new baby. He looked at the plaque with his father's name and stood there for a long time. "I wish I had been better back then, Mom," he said. I touched his arm, feeling the strength of the man he had become. "The past is just a draft, Jasper. We're on the final copy now." He smiled, and for the first time, the shadow of our old life was completely gone. We were bound by love, not by the mistakes we had made. I started an initiative to provide free legal aid to elderly people who were being exploited by their families. My own experience with Jasper and Claudia had taught me how vulnerable we can be. I hired the best lawyers in the city, the ones who fought for justice instead of just a high bill. We saved hundreds of homes and restored the dignity of thousands of seniors. I was using my luck to create a system of protection for those who had none in life. I received a letter from Claudia. She was living in a small town in the Midwest, working at a diner. She wasn't asking for money this time. She was asking for forgiveness. She said watching my work from afar had made her realize how hollow her life had been. I didn't send her money, but I sent her a copy of my book with a note. "Everyone deserves a second draft. Start writing yours." It was the final act of letting go. I was free from her shadow at last. I celebrated my 70th birthday on a boat in the Mediterranean. My entire family was there: Jasper, Maria, the kids, and my close friends. We danced under the stars, the music echoing across the water. I looked at the dark sea and thought about the night of the lottery. I wasn't that scared woman anymore. I was the captain of my own ship, surrounded by people who loved me for my heart, not my wallet. It was the most perfect night of my long life. I decided to move back to Queens, but into a beautiful penthouse I built on top of the library. I wanted to be close to the people and the books. From my terrace, I could see the old apartment building where I had struggled for so long. It served as a reminder of how far I had come and why I did what I did. I was a local legend now, but I still did my own grocery shopping at the same gas station where I bought the winning ticket 5 long years ago. The young couple I had helped with the rent came to see me. They had finished their degrees and were now both successful teachers. They tried to pay me back, but I told them to use the money to start a scholarship at their school instead. "Pay it forward," I said. "That's how we change the world." They looked at me with such gratitude that it made my heart ache. I was seeing the ripples of my luck spreading out, touching lives I would never even meet. I started writing my second book, titled The Wealth of Kindness. It was a collection of stories about the people I had met through the foundation. I wanted to show that money is only a tool, and the real value lies in the human connection. The book became even more popular than the first one, and I spent the year traveling for book signings. I met thousands of people, and each one of them reminded me that we are all looking for the same thing: to be seen. My health started to decline a bit, but I didn't let it slow me down. I just learned to appreciate the quiet moments even more. I spent my mornings in the garden I had created on the roof of the library, tending to the roses and the herbs. The smell of damp earth and blooming flowers was a constant comfort. I realized that life is like a garden. You have to pull the weeds of bitterness to let the flowers of joy grow. My garden was in full, beautiful bloom. Jasper is now the director of the Eleanor Foundation. He handles the day-to-day operations with a passion and integrity that makes me proud every day. He has a deep empathy for the people we help, and he never forgets where he came from. He is the man Roger and I always hoped he would be. I can rest easy knowing that the work will continue long after I am gone. The legacy of the mystery millionaire is in the best possible hands with my son. I recently went back to Paris for a visit. Sophie is now a successful human rights lawyer, and she hosted a dinner for me at her home. We laughed about the days when we were planning my escape from the St. Regis. She told me that meeting me had changed the course of her life, giving her the courage to fight for those who have no voice. I realized that my wealth hadn't just changed my life. It had acted as a catalyst for so many others to find their own. I spent a week in a quiet monastery in the mountains of Greece. I wanted to experience total silence and reflection. I didn't take my phone or my books. I just sat and watched the sun rise and set over the ancient rocks. I realized that the greatest luxury isn't something you can buy. It's the ability to be alone with your own thoughts and feel a sense of peace. I was no longer running from anything. I was finally, truly, and completely at home in myself. I came back to New York and found that the foundation had received a massive anonymous donation. It was from someone I had helped years ago, someone who had struck it rich in their own way and wanted to give back. It was a beautiful cycle of generosity. I realized that I had created a community where people took care of each other, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. This was the real vibe that would last forever in this city. I am now 75, and my hair is a beautiful, snowy white. I still wear my silk scarves and my charcoal coats, but I wear them with a different kind of grace. I am a woman who has lived a full and meaningful life. I have experienced the heights of wealth and the depths of poverty, and I have found that the middle ground of kindness is the most beautiful place to be. I am Eleanor, a teacher, a mother, a philanthropist, and a woman who finally was seen. My granddaughter Arthurina is 10 years old now. She helps me in the library garden on the weekends. She asks me questions about the world and about her grandfather. I tell her the truth, always. I want her to grow up knowing that the world can be hard, but it can also be magical if you have the courage to be yourself. She looks at me with so much love that it makes me feel like the luckiest woman on the planet, regardless of the millions in the bank. I took a final trip to the coast of Maine, a place where Roger and I used to dream of going. I sat on the rocky shore and watched the waves crash against the cliffs. The sound was powerful and constant, like the passage of time. I felt a deep sense of closure. I had fulfilled my dreams, and I had fulfilled his too. I was a woman who had taken a single moment of luck and turned it into a lifetime of meaning. I was ready for whatever came next in the journey. I spent my last days in the library of Penthouse, surrounded by my books and my family. Jasper was there, holding my hand, and Maria was reading to the kids in the next room. The sound of their voices was the most beautiful music I had ever heard. I felt a deep sense of peace wash over me. I had lived my life on my own terms, and I had left the world a little bit better than I found it. I was Eleanor, and I was finally, truly, and gloriously at rest in my heart. The city of New York continued to buzz outside, a constant hum of life and energy. But inside the library, there was a quiet sanctuary of knowledge and hope. I knew that the Eleanor Foundation would continue to be a beacon of light for the forgotten and the overlooked. My story was no longer just mine. It was a part of the city's history, a reminder that everyone deserves to be seen and valued for who they are, not for what they have in their life. I closed my eyes and thought about the night of the lottery one last time. I didn't think about the numbers or the money. I thought about the feeling of the ticket in my hand, the moment I realized that everything was about to change. It wasn't about the millions. It was about the freedom to choose my own path. I had chosen a path of kindness, and it had led me to the most beautiful place imaginable. I was a lucky woman, but I was also a very brave one. The sun set over Manhattan, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. It was a perfect ending to a perfect story. I am Eleanor, the woman who won the lottery and found herself. I am the teacher who taught the world the value of empathy. I am the mother who found her son and the woman who found her soul. I am finally, truly, and completely at home. The silence is no longer heavy. It is full of peace and the beautiful ticking of a life well lived. Looking back at that cold New Year's Eve in Queens, I see that the rejection from Jasper was actually a gift. It forced me to stop living for others and start living for myself. It was the crack in the wall that allowed the light to come in. I am thankful for every hard moment, every tear, and every struggle. They were the steps that led me to this terrace, to this life, and to this peace. I am a woman who was forged in the fire and came out as pure gold. The library penthouse became a place of inspiration for many young writers and artists. I hosted weekly salons where we discussed the big questions of life. I wanted to foster a spirit of curiosity and courage in the next generation. I saw so much potential in their young faces, and it gave me hope for the future. We were building a world where people were seen for their talents and their hearts, a world that was a far cry from the one I had grown up in. I recently received a letter from a woman in London who had read my book. She said it had given her the strength to leave a toxic situation and start her own business. "You showed me that it's never too late to change your life," she wrote. It's these moments that make me realize the true power of my story. It wasn't just about me. It was a catalyst for change for thousands of women around the globe. I am honored to be a part of their journeys to freedom. My granddaughter Arthurina won a writing contest at her school. Her essay was about the importance of being kind to everyone, no matter who they are. She cited me as her inspiration. I cried when I read it, a mix of pride and humility. I am seeing my values being passed down to the next generation, and it is the most beautiful thing I have ever witnessed. The legacy of Eleanor is not in the money, but in the hearts of those who have learned to see the world. I am 90 years old now, and I spend most of my time in my favorite armchair, looking out at the park. I don't need much anymore, just the company of my family and the comfort of my books. I have lived a long and glorious life, a life that was full of both shadow and light. I have no regrets, only a deep sense of gratitude for every moment of it. I am Eleanor, a woman of the world, a woman of peace, and a woman who was finally, truly, and completely seen. The foundation has now opened offices in London, Paris, and Tokyo. We are a global network of kindness, helping millions of people every year. Jasper is still at the helm, leading with a grace and passion that continues to inspire me. He has truly become the man I always knew he could be. I can leave this world knowing that the work will continue and that the light we created will never go out. The legacy of the mystery millionaire is now a global one. I had a dream last night that I was back in that gas station in Queens buying the ticket. But this time, when the clerk handed it to me, he said, "This isn't for you, Eleanor. This is for everyone." I woke up with a smile on my face, knowing that it was true. My win was a win for everyone I have ever helped, for every person who has ever felt invisible or unloved. It was a win for the human spirit, a reminder that magic can happen to anyone at any time. I am sitting on the terrace now, feeling the warmth of the sun on my face. The wind is whispering through the trees of Central Park, a soft and comforting sound. I feel a deep sense of connection to everything around me, a sense of being a part of a much larger story. I am Eleanor, and I am finally, truly, and gloriously home. The journey has been long and winding, but every step was worth it. I am at peace. I am complete. I am finally and truly seen. My final book, The Legacy of Light, has just been published. It's a reflection on the last 30 years of my life and the lessons I have learned. I wanted to leave a guide for those who are still looking for their own path. I hope it brings comfort and courage to all who read it. I am a teacher until the very end, sharing my knowledge and my heart with the world. I have done what I came here to do, and I am content with the final chapter of my long story. The stars are coming out over the city now, a million tiny lights in the dark. I feel like one of them, a small part of a vast and beautiful universe. I am Eleanor, and I am finally, truly, and completely free. The story of the teacher from Queens who won the lottery and found her soul has come to its beautiful conclusion. I am at peace. I am home. And the light we created together will shine on forever, long after I am gone into the stars above the city.